on January the 6th, Monday, January the 6th, while our enforcement team out at the Zapadilla Keys Marine Reserve were doing routine patrols. So they decided to do a patrol in the area of the rise and fall bank, and upon reaching that area to the western end of the rise and fall bank area, they noticed that the Coast Guard vessel, or a Coast Guard vessel, which was a little distance away, seemed to have stalled. So they were wondering what had happened to the Coast Guard vessel. So then they went to investigate, and upon reaching the Coast Guard vessel, they realized that the Coast Guard was actually retrieving a series of gill nets near the area of Cayman Crown. So they started assisting the Belize Coast Guard in retrieving these gill nets. A total of 9 gill nets were retrieved, and more gill nets were still in the water. But while they were retrieving these nets, they noticed that there was a vessel that was lurking about 800 meters from where they were. So the tide personnel and the Coast Guard personnel decided that somebody needs to go and check why is that vessel lurking in the vicinity. So our vessel, the tide vessel, decided to do that, and while they headed towards the vessel, they noticed that the vessel started to speed towards the Guatemalan borderline. Now, they pursued the vessel a distance, but upon realizing that they were in close proximity to the what we call the Guatemalan borderline, they stopped and the vessel crossed and entered Guatemalan waters. But while they entered Guatemalan waters, they were joined by 2 other vessels, and then they had a small conversation, and for some reason they decided that they will pursue our vessel instead, and they started chasing our vessel. So on our vessel we had 2 tide rangers and we had 2 Coast Guard personnel who were armed. So the vessel started chasing our vessel now, and what our team decided to do was to venture more into Belizean waters so that we know that we will be safe within our waters. So the vessels, the 3 vessels now entered Belizean territory and started to pursue our vessel. And during that process, they started firing shots. Now, they fired about 10 live rounds in the air, which our rangers assumed was an intimidation tactic, right? But after a while, what happened is that they stopped, realizing that they were in Belizean waters, and then they turned around and headed straight back to the Guatemalan coastline. Now, we cannot categorically state that these are Guatemalans, because they could be maybe Hondurans, we're not sure. But because they headed towards the Guatemalan borderline, we are assuming that these are Guatemalan fishers, and they were upset because of the retrieval of all these gill nets. So remember that we retrieved 9 gill nets on that day. There were still more gill nets in the water. So the following day, the Belize Coast Guard returned and retrieved the balance of gill nets. So it just goes to show that there's a series of illicit activity, illegal fishing gear that has been used in the area of Cayman Crown, and that we need to ramp up our enforcement initiatives if we want to protect our fishery resources, especially during the FSA fish spawning aggregation season. Well, it is the first time in the Zapadilla Keys Marine Reserve since we have assumed co-management, but it is not the first time that fishers have opened fire on rangers. For our people here in Toledo, they could rest assured that Tide will continue protecting the fishery resources. This will not deter our efforts in protecting our fishery resources. Although it is a cause for concern and the safety of our rangers, we will ensure that the proper process is in place to protect our rangers, and at the same time ensure that we continue protecting our fishery resources.